Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop, Emerald Planet. All the ecology news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's your host, Executive Director of the Emerald Planet, Dr. Sam Lee Hancock.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations looking for the 1,000 best practices, the technologies, the services, and the products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. One of the big challenges of this 21st century, of course, is water. The world is becoming drier with a population that's going from a little over 7 billion to 9 billion souls by 2050. How are we going to provide the water, and then related to that, the sanitation, the basic infrastructure, everything that's absolutely needed as we move forward throughout this time. So looking at the water situation, and particularly focusing on the Middle East, how is it we're going to be able to take care of this? We have someone sitting with me who is working on this in a very active manner. This is Brandon P. McGinnis. He is the president of Water Resources Action Project called WRAP. And Brendan, welcome to the Emerald Planet.
Thanks for having me, Sam.
I tell you, it's a very ambitious project where you're tying together Israel, Palestinian Authority, and Jordan. So tell us, how did WRAP decided it was going to put its arms around something that's that huge and has been a festering, area in the Middle East, and yet you really are starting to be able to bring peace into this whole region?
Yeah, sure thing. The organization was started in 2008 by a subset of purely volunteer group of folks in the environmental field that wanted to do something in this area of the world, specifically in Jordan and Palestine and Israel, as you mentioned. What WRAP does is that we work within schools in these three areas. We install a rain harvesting collection system. In the school, pretty basic, very simple technology, which is why we used it. Essentially, it works by collecting rain on the roof of the school. It's diverted through a series of pipes into, in the case of our first two schools, storage barrels, where it is then, when needed, pumped from the storage barrels to the restrooms and is used for toilet flushing in the school. I should also know that there is a strong parallel educational program that emphasizes conservation of water and other general environmental principles within the school. The students within the school are responsible for monitoring rainfall patterns, the amount of water collected within these storage units, what that translates into savings for the school, monetary savings, and then certainly just how much water is actually being conserved that otherwise would have needed to be supplied by the municipality.
Well, let's go back to, if we can bring this up, this is some of the rain barrels. Tell us, what is a rain barrel, the size of these, and go back a little bit about how these actually work. So that you're actually, because the term is harvesting rainwater.
Yeah,
and that's very important.
Yeah, rainwater harvesting. There's two different styles of rain harvesting technologies that we utilize. In our first two schools, which are both in the East Jerusalem area, the first, our pilot project in Surbeher, and the other in Afak. In those two schools, we utilize this rain barrel technology. As I mentioned before, it's about 1,500 liters for each one of these barrels.
And that's how many gallons for the U.S.?
That's a good question. I don't have a calculator on me.
That's a roughly 3.2, I think it goes into that. So,
yeah.
Okay.
So what we've been able to see, though, is that through the harvesting of this rain, It's been able to supply upwards of about 70% of the total water needs of the school during the rainy season, which is running through November and roughly April.
Which is really significant, because when you look at how dry the Middle East is, and particularly in these three countries, Israel, Palestinian Authority, and Jordan, any one drop literally that you can get, I mean, that's very helpful. And also it's critical because many of these communities have virtually no water whatsoever.
Yeah, our latest project, that's certainly so, and it is that's in the West Bank. It is in the village of Batir at the high school there. And that style of technology, it's a cistern, which is nothing new. It's an ancient method of collecting rain that's been used for a very long time.
Well, actually, they're finding cisterns now where they're, almost prehistoric days, up through, the various civilizations, the Romans and everybody else coming through. But looking at this particular situation, I know that gardening now has become a big effort of this. So not only just harvesting the rainwater for the sanitation and purifying and cleaning the grounds, what are the solar panels being used for?
Well, in this, the particular one there at AFAC, those solar panels are used for a filtration of the water. It's a closed loop system where they're using it to move the water through a series of different potted plants that by filtering it through there, the plants itself pull out a lot of the nutrients and otherwise in the water. A lot of the water that is left over, there really isn't much, but they've been able to allocate it towards not only flushing the toilets, but also having a community garden, which is it's very much valued by the schools in this area. And in addition to that, it's allowing particularly the school in Batir to be able to have a summer camp and to be able to stay open during the summer months. And that cistern system, which I mentioned, which is essentially a very large concrete storage tank that's underground, is able to store much more than the rain barrel systems, and there's pros and cons with each, but it's upwards of 62,000 liters, which I do think I have the math on that. It's around 16,000 gallons or more.
That's incredible. Looking at the public relations of this, I know this is something that's very unique, and you're tying together three very disparate nationalities, socioeconomic background. I mean, everything is completely different in that. But yet, at the same time, the amount of the cooperation seems almost uniform across the schools that are getting involved in this. So how do you translate the differences, the socioeconomic, cultural backgrounds, even the religious backgrounds, into something where people feel like they have a common bond and a common purpose as far as developing this rain harvesting project?
No, that's a good question, and we wouldn't be able to do any of this without the in-country partners that are on the ground there. One of our primary partners, Friends of the Earth Middle East, they have been instrumental in working within these schools, employing the educational program, and also in our East Jerusalem school, the Only Green Environmental Center, a grassroots community-based organization there. There's only so much that we can do operating here out of Washington, D.C. with a handful of volunteers. Without these partners on the ground, little of this, I think, would be able to be as successfully, as effectively done without them.
Now, looking at the photographs we have here, tell us a little about the schools, the children that we have. What is actually happening here? And we see the school children actually painting these tanks. So just give us a little background on what we're seeing.
Yeah, that's something that typically we've seen in the two schools, is that to make it their own, they'll paint the barrels and make them look a little bit more appealing and less industrial. But the first school that we have in Surbeher it's an all-girls school, Arab girls, middle school age into high school. Our second school, AFAC, which is right down the street actually in East Jerusalem as well. It's a special needs school. That's actually a boys' school there. The systems are very similar and are meeting similar needs of the school. And our latest school in Batir in Palestine, that is a girls' high school there, Arab girls. And I can certainly mention the next 2 schools, what we have.
I know,
that lies ahead.
you've told us that there are going to be new schools coming on stream, no pun intended.
Yeah, there are. We have 2 schools that we're fundraising towards now, both of which are going to be in the Dan region of Israel, just outside of Tel Aviv. One will be it'll be the Lod High School, which is going to be a Jewish school, and the other will be in the city of Holon, which will be an Arab school. And I think in particular this emphasizes what RAP is all about. It's not just about conserving water, it's not just about educating the youth on environmental principles and conservation. It's having these schools with these different backgrounds, these different religions, and these different geographic areas, whether it's Palestine, eventually Jordan, where we'll have projects, or Israel, but having all of these schools connected, communicating, breaking down some of the barriers that exist there, the mistrust, the misconceptions, and in time, we hope that allows, I think, for some more trust and peaceful solutions and discussions to come about.
Well, looking at the slide we have here, tell us a little bit about the technology that we're seeing here. And was this developed through RAP? Is this developed in collaboration among the faculty and students of these different schools?
Yeah.
Just where does this come from?
Well,
and what are we actually seeing right now?
Well, this in particular, this actually isn't a RAP project that per se. We installed the barrels at this school in AFAC, and our partner that we work with on the ground, the Only Green Environmental Center, they actually were at the forefront of installing this complementary system next to ours. And what you're seeing there is there's basically a small fish pond, the excrement from the fish, that is then pumped into these different tubes where you have a variety of plants that are growing.
So these are really demonstrations or examples of what can be done.
Yeah, and it's all off-grid through the solar panel, and the nutrients from the fish pond are used to feed the plants. The plants are then used to filtrate out a lot of the different types of nutrients and other wastes that are in the water stream, which then serves as a filtration device in this closed loop system that's used as a demonstration in the special needs school.
Well, we've absolutely run out of time. About 15 seconds. Where do you see the future of RAP over the next 5, 10, 15 years?
Where we've set out, and what I believe we soon will accomplish, is that we're going to have 10 schools in Jordan, Palestine, and Israel, with rain harvesting systems all working together.
Well, thank you for being with us. This is Brandon P. McGinnis, who is the president of Water Resources Action Project, RAP, and talking about the work that's going on in Palestine, Jordan, and Israel as we look around the globe to create the Emerald Planet. Good job. Great.
I helped turn my child's public school into a whole new kind of school. One with a curriculum that really motivates kids. One that has extended hours, 6 days a week, year-round. With loads of academic, cultural, and recreational activities. One that has support services like medical and dental right there. A school where parents' involvement is encouraged. Where teachers have more time to teach. And students are excited about learning. There's just one problem. My child doesn't ever want to come home. You can help turn your school into a community school for excellence. Find out how. Call 1-877-LOVE-TO-LEARN.
It's coming. Right to your neighborhood. And when it does, you may be surprised. It's your Social Security statement of your benefits, and it's going to help you plan your financial future. Your benefit statement will tell you how much Social Security you're eligible to receive and when you'll get it. Then you'll know how much you need to save for retirement, because that's coming too. The future is in your hands. Choose to save.
The toxic fumes from this meth lab are seeping into Jamie's sinus cavity. Ammonia vapors invade her throat. Toxic gases fill her lungs. Jamie's body is deteriorating. And she doesn't even know it.
Jamie, dinner.
So, who has the drug problem now? Find out how meth affects you at drugfree.org/.
Thank you, sir.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C., looking for the 1,000 best practices, the technologies, the services, and the products that are being used in 144 different nations and territories around the globe. And one of the biggest challenges as we move towards 2050 and through the 21st century is how we're going to provide water, which is absolutely the staff of life for every human being. We can go without a certain amount of time without food, without energy, but water we must have and have it immediately. And many areas are drying, and many other communities with a rapid population growth is either as little water, it must be trucked in, many times it's contaminated before it arrives, or there absolutely are human beings and no water. And so how do we take care of that? We have a gentleman who's working on this very diligently from the country of Israel. He's a co-director of EcoPeace and the Friends of the Earth Middle East, Gidon Bromberg. And Gidon, welcome from Israel.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here.
I tell you, I was going through the background for you and the others, co-directors as far as the Friends of the Earth Middle East. You've had some absolutely incredible awards and international recognition. You've got to be very, very proud of that. But tell us, what are the EcoPeace and the Friends of the Earth Middle East?
Well, we truly are a unique organization. We're the only organization that exists in any field that brings Israelis, Palestinians, and Jordanians working together under one roof, environment or anything else.
I think that's absolutely incredible, and the awards attest to that. But the fact that you can work together, you actually travel together, you're going to the United Nations and then Washington, D.C., it's absolutely just incredible what you're doing. So what was the inspiration behind this, that three very disparate societies, socioeconomic backgrounds, I mean, just everything is so different, yet decide we're going to do this together and, you know, what we're calling water for peace?
So as the word eco and peace relate, it's those two themes that are coming together. The ecology doesn't understand the political borders. Sadly, our nations don't have peace. So we're trying to work on the environmental issues, particularly the water issue that's transboundary. All of our major sources of water cross one or more of our political boundaries. And therefore, it's quite natural to promote cooperation around those shared waters.
Now, looking at the political structure, we don't involve ourselves at all with Emerald Planet as far as politics, religion, any of those things. But at the same time, you've been able to cross all these boundaries. So water, the environment, is not a respecter of boundaries, but yet solutions cannot be, in essence, respecter of boundaries. So how are you able to cut across all these different boundaries to get various political figures to say, hey, this is a great idea, or to stay out of the way and say, okay, guys, go forth and do good?
So in the midst of conflict, our organization is 20 years old. We've come to understand that we need to speak to self-interest. We need to speak to the self-interest of the Israelis, of the Palestinians, of the Jordanians, but in a nature that combines mutual gain, mutual benefit. And that way we're able to talk about solutions such as rehabilitating the holy River Jordan. At the moment, that river has been turned into little more than a sewage canal. And it's the communities, be they Israeli, Palestinian, or Jordanian, that have become the losers. So we speak to the self-interest of the communities, the residents, the mayors, and try to empower them to raise their voice, to work together to rehabilitate the river.
Well, looking at the three major religions, which is, you know, as far as Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, And in those traditions and the teachings, the Jordan River is prominent in all of this. So this is something that really strikes to the very core of the psyche of all of these three religions, but all three peoples at the same time. But yet, you know, there's conflict, but you're leading them through this pathway of water to say, hey, we need to look at this very differently. How were you able to think conceptually as far as a mission and a vision, we're going to use water to lead all three peoples forward towards peace and resolution of conflict?
So water is life. It's something that is well understood by everyone because, as you said earlier, you can't live without water. The current situation of polluting scarce water doesn't make sense to anyone. And therefore, we've been trying to promote concepts of sharing the natural waters that we have more fairly and taking responsibility to reduce pollution from all of our three societies. So using religion, we've actually launched a faith-based campaign focusing on the Hebrew Bible and references in Judaism to the Jordan River, the Christian Bible and references in Christianity to the river, and similarly to Islam, and really work with our different faith-based communities to build trust, to bring forth concrete solutions that improve people's livelihoods.
Yeah, looking at this, I know that this is a very dry area of the Middle East, and actually in all three traditions that we need to go and we need to take the desert and allow it to bloom, which really relates to humankind as well. It's not just the desert blooming, but the lives, the creativity, the very essence of human beings. So how do you weave this together with this message? I know you're using water as the platform, but now you're saying is that you're actually building on the religions instead of just keeping them kind of hidden in the background. You're actually bringing it to the fore. How are you able to do that between these, and where the governments then say, we don't really want to have any part of this? How do you really weave that tapestry so that everybody sees a beautiful picture, not something that's keeping people from communicating?
So there are spoilers. There are those that condemn working with the other side, working with the enemy, and see the issues in a very simplistic black and white. Well, by looking at the environment, we see a complicated environment. We see interdependence. And when we've brought forth educational programs, site visits that bring Israelis, Palestinians, and Jordanians together to look at the interdependent nature of our shared water resources, we see the penny drop. We see people come and understand, hey, this is cooperation as a necessity. We're not doing a favor to the other side. We're acting in our self-interest, but in a manner that brings forth mutual gain.
Well, looking back at what we're looking at here, and we perceive the impact of this, is that we're gradually losing our water resources. And I know that you're working very closely with the Water Resources Action Project of the United States, headquartered in Washington, D.C. So how is your Friends of the Earth Middle East work with WRAP of the United States, and what is the symbiotic relationship between these two very positive organizations?
So cooperation makes sense, and we're delighted that we're partnering together with WRAP that are bringing resources from the United States to build rainwater harvesting facilities in schools, in communities where we have a strong presence, where we've identified communities on either side of political borders where streams or springs flow on both sides. Those investments help promote an understanding of interdependence and a shared future, but the investments themselves help to improve the actual water reality, because we need to show concrete benefit on the ground. We need to show that by working together, Israeli, Palestinian, Jordanian livelihoods will be improved. And these investments in rainwater harvesting, in grey water reuse, really speak to the needs of the community and help even those that in the beginning object to come on board.
Yeah, looking at how this whole area is drying out, and you're leaving great salt flats and all that. You don't have to go very far to see the critical nature of this. How are you involving the local community so they feel like that they're a part of what's going on out there? And I assume you're doing a bottom-up approach instead of a governmental focused top-down approach.
So we're very much a bottom-up organization. We're working in very many communities, as I said, that are cross-border. In every community we have a local staff person that was born and grew up in that community. And because they grew up in that community, they come with a level of trust. The community trusts them because they were born there. The family has relationships with the local school, with the municipality. In every one of these communities, we're working in schools. We've developed youth water trustees that learn about their water reality and their neighbours' water reality. We've developed adult activists, and very importantly, we've developed relationships with the mayors. We've really done amazing things where we've had the mayors of the Jordan River, Palestinian, Jordanian, Israeli, jump into a clean stretch of the Jordan River, one of the last clean stretches south of the Sea of Galilee. And they're jumping into the river together, not because they're best friends. There's still a lot of animosity. The conflict is not over, but they're jumping into the river because the communities are calling upon them to act. That an understanding that a lack of cooperation has led to the demise, has led to missed opportunities in the communities. And by cooperation, we can start to see the sewerage, the pollution leave the river, and the first release of fresh water taking place. In fact, this year, for the first time in 50 years, as a matter of policy, fresh water was flowing down from the Sea of Galilee to the Jordan River, making its way all the way to the Dead Sea. Not enough, and it speaks to a lot more work that needs to be implemented here. But it really is a paradigm shift. We see cooperation, and through cooperation on the environment, an understanding of trust building, and that's the basis of peace.
Yeah, looking at this too, I notice there's emphasis not only for the water for, toilet flushing and cleanliness around the schools and the communities, but also in food production, and we have only about 30 seconds. What do you see for the future of the water food as far as your perspective as an Israeli, and what the Israelis are seeing the benefits from this type of collaboration?
So Israel is probably
30 seconds.
Israel's probably the most efficient water user in the world, but efficiency doesn't equate to sustainability. So we need to look at what type of crops we're growing. We shouldn't be growing tropical fruits in the middle of the desert. We need to strike that right balance between the needs of nature and the needs of people, and the needs of the people that live together in the region.
I tell you, it's absolutely fantastic. Gidon Brumberg, who is the co-director from the country of Israel, EcoPeace and Friends of the Earth Middle East, for being with us on the Emerald Planet. And thank you for being with us as we look at water for peace and how we're going to be able to help the Middle East as we create the Emerald Planet.
Some dreams are universal. Dreams that inspire us. Multiple sclerosis is a devastating disease that changes lives forever. The National MS Society does more for people with MS than any organization in the world. But we can't do it alone. To get involved, visit us online at nationalmssociety.org. or call 1-800-FIGHT-MS. This is why we're here. Because nobody dreams of having multiple sclerosis.
What's wrong with this picture? Half of young Americans can't locate economic powers like Japan and India. 20% can't even find the Pacific Ocean. Without geography, our children aren't ready for the world. Geography is everywhere. It's incredible creatures, rhythm, fashion, flavor, It's economics and politics. It's change. Understanding connections between people and places is critical in the 21st century. That's why we created mywonderfulworld.org. Go there now for your free parent and teacher action kits and give our kids the power of global knowledge. Because kids who understand our world today can succeed in it tomorrow.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock of Emerald Planet, come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations and territories looking for the very best practices, as we say, the best of the best, that are going to allow us to progress towards 2050 in a way that accommodates 2 billion new people. Yes, 2 billion new people that are going to join us on planet Earth. At the same time, to provide them with the quality of living, with the water, the sanitation, the health care, education, power, all these things as needed to bring about a meaningful, important part of life. And we have someone who is here with us from the country of Jordan in the Middle East that's actually actively working on this for a number of years. His name is Munkeith Meher, who is the co-director of what's called EcoPeace and Friends of the Earth Middle East. And Munkeith, welcome to the Emerald Planet.
Thank you for having us, Sam.
And I must say, he's an active Rotarian. He has his Rotary pin on, and being a Paul Harris Fellow myself, it's always good to see a fellow Rotarian, so welcome again to the United States. Looking at what is EcoPeace and Friends of the Earth Middle East, just give us a short overview and then we'll get into the main text of what we're going to be discussing.
Of course. EcoPeace, Friends of the Earth Middle East, is a regional environmental organization. We started in 1994, right after the peace agreement been signed between Jordan and Israel, and the Palestinians started their peace negotiations also. So we thought that the region is being exposed with a promised peace, let's say, and we thought that we really need a environmental peace next to the political peace. So EcoPeace is ecological peace, and that's where we started to have a watchdog kind of explanation to see over all these investments that have been promised for the region because of the peace talks.
Well, looking at what you're doing, I know it's extremely rare that you have citizens of each of these three nation states, if you will, including the Palestinian Authority, actually working together. But also you travel together. You're coming out and talking about how you can actually take water and as a springboard for peace in the Middle East. So from a Jordanian perspective, which is a very dry country, and you're now faced with a huge number of refugees coming in from other countries because of your stability and what's going on. Well, how do the Jordanians themselves view this fact of having this close cooperation with the Palestinian Authority and Israel at the same time?
Well, it's been working really good since 1994. We negotiated a peace agreement, and one of the major tracks of that peace agreement is the water negotiations. Since then, Jordan been allocating water for Israel through Yarmouk River, and Jordan been taking its share of the Jordan River waters from Israel in the summertime. So we give in the wintertime and we take in the summertime. It's a kind of partnership that everybody was waiting for. Now, working together proved for everybody that it's much easier. We can live in a stable water reality sort of speak, and also find the water when we want it. In terms of the Palestinians partnership, of course, Palestinians did have a lot of hardship in terms of water, because Israel is the major supplier of the water to Palestine. And we, in the Friends of the Earth Middle East, we work really closely with both the Israelis and the Palestinians, the water authorities, and how we can improve that situation.
Now, looking at this photograph here, we don't normally have people out for a swimming party and pictures on the Emerald Planet, but this has real political significance of what we're looking at here, and also significance for the peoples of Palestine, Israel, and Jordan. What are we looking at here? And give us the background, the significance of why this is such a time of joy and celebration.
Of course, as you know, Jordan River is a river which it's very important for humanity in general. You know, like half of the world is singing about the mighty, roaring Jordan River. Jordan River faces huge challenges these days. And the picture we see in the background here is the mayors of the region, Palestinians, Jordanians, and Israelis, jumping into the river, showing the world that here we are jumping into what's supposed to be a polluted river, and we going to work together to rehabilitate that river. Of course, Yani, you look at them, it's not really a pretty picture with big bellies all over, but it's a message that maybe we don't like each other in so many aspects, you know, call it politics or anything else, but it's our interest together to work together to rehabilitate the river. Well, it's a kind of cooperation, really.
Yeah. Well, going back to this and showing the way that people can cooperate in their own self-interest. At the same time, when you have the three major religions, you know, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, all centered around the Jordan River that we see here in reality in the 21st century, how are the various religions, the leadership within these religions allow people to cooperate, encourage cooperation, at the same time find mutual respect in something really oftentimes is in extreme conflict?
The Jordan River is important to the three religions, and it's so easy to pinpoint that in the holy book of Judaism and Christianity, and also the Quran in Islam. All of them speak of the holiness of the river. Now, everybody can see that the river is facing challenges. The river lost about 96% of its water. With only 4% flowing, we lost half of the biodiversity in that river. If you think of it, the other half is hanging on to a very small amount of water, but for how long? We're gonna lose it very soon. Now, as you know, the Jordan River water, the final terminal for that water is the Dead Sea. And the Dead Sea is facing challenges for the water dropping. About 3 feet per year, the water drops. Because of that, a lot of ecological phenomena, new phenomena, like we see in the background, started to appear, which is the sinkholes. The sinkholes, the meaning of the sinkholes is a big piece of land, something like an acre or so, will sink within overnight, you know, into the ground. It's really a dangerous situation because you never know what is on top of that land. Is it a road, a house, a farm land, or anything? But it's a big loss. It's been a big loss for the people over there. So to the religious people, when we ask them to preach for the river and to rehabilitate the river, it is people to people. We are helping people how to avoid catastrophe and also try to secure the natural resources for the future generations.
Well, looking at this photograph here, this really goes to exemplify exactly what you were talking about, Manquith, as far as the people coming together, the various religions, the nationalities, and the various factions in this area of the Middle East. So what is the message of, the Friends of the Earth Middle East have to say to these people? How are you able to translate the close working cooperation that you have within your own nonprofit organization for Israel, Palestine Authority, and Jordan to bring about, this very scene that we're looking at right here?
This is exactly the situation where I can really quote from our Rotary background that serve above self. We really look at our work as work to the people of the region. We demand our partners to talk to each other more than to fight over water. No, we ask them to come, sit down around the table, discuss it, and then see the benefits for yourself and the future generations.
Well, it's like the other principle of Rotary: is it fair to all, and is it the truth? And this is what you're seeing right here in this photograph, and that's why I'm glad you shared these with us, so that we could actually show this, that it's not just nice words that we have in the television studio of Emerald Planet, but the fact is this is really going on in real life with real people in real countries in the Middle East at this time.
Absolutely.
And looking at this and taking it, how do you see for the future as far as your organization's concerned? What do you see as a way forward, and what's going to happen, you think, over the next 5, 10, or 15 years that's going to continue to improve the conditions for the people in the three areas?
Well, Sam, as you know, at this time there is a serious peace negotiations going on. And like many times before, we have our spirits up that peace will finally approach. Right now, they put a time frame to the peace negotiations this time that will bring results, which it's 9 months. Now already 2 months are passed. So what do we have in the next 7 months to approach that ending? Thinking of that, the only way we see it, that we need to cooperate, we need to mobilize people together to keep their hopes up, to bring the information and the experience that took place in the past to the negotiation table today. We have the Camp David in the year 2000. We built a lot of experience over that negotiations. That's where we need people in the negotiations team today to look at it. We heard that there is a track
about
1.
5 seconds left.
Okay, track 1 and track 2. Track 1 behind doors, that is scary. We need to know what's going behind those doors and know what's going on.
Well, we'll leave this in the backdrop as people are collaborating and cooperating as we look around the globe to create the Emerald Planet.
There's more than just books at the library.
There's more than just books at the library.
Excuse me.
There's more than just books at the library.
Il y a plus que de livres à la bibliothèque.
Hello. You have a lot of great books here today. You know there's more than just books at the library.
I know.
There's more than just books at the library.
I don't want to be hooked to a machine.
I want all the medical treatment available to me.
I wouldn't want my family to have to make this decision.
My doctor knows what's best for me.
An advance directive is your life
on your terms. Talk with your family. Decide what's right for you. Then put it in writing.
Documenting my wishes today means my family won't have to make heart-wrenching decisions later.
To learn more, visit www.putitinwriting.org.
1,200 American youth run away from their homes every day. The National Runaway Switchboard is here to help. 1-800-RUNAWAY. If you are a runaway, thinking about running away from home, or a parent or guardian concerned about issues facing your child, call us 24 hours a day. 1-800-RUNAWAY. In times of crisis, hope is just a phone call away. 1-800
Look at you and
Yes,
the computer.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock, the President and Executive Director of Emerald Planet and the Emerald Planet TV, as we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States on a weekly basis. And we're looking around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for the 1,000 best practices, the technologies, the services, and the products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And as we go from 7 to 9 billion people on this planet, and we're talking about areas particularly in the Middle East, which has a high level of population, great population expansion, how we're going to be able to provide the basic needs, the water, the food, the energy, and also the infrastructure of roads, education, healthcare, that are going to make a difference so that people are actually thriving in society and not just existing. And we have a gentleman that's in the studio all the way from Palestine who's going to talk about some of the work that he's been doing through what's called EcoPeace and the Friends of the Earth Middle East. His name is Nadar Al-Khateef, who is the co-director of these organizations and from the country of Palestine. And Nadar, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thanks, Sam.
Glad to have you here. Tell us a little bit about the Friends of the Earth Middle East, and then we'll ask you about working with RAP and the work that's going on here in the United States in collaboration with what you're doing in the Middle East.
And I think Friends of Earth Middle East is the symbol of the future of the Middle East, where people go beyond, the conflict and put hands together to work for the benefit of all the Middle East without thinking about the past or blaming each other. We need to be more optimistic, to think about our kids, about the next generations. The old generations already spoiled the Middle East environment more than enough, and we need to respect the trust from God and to think about a better future.
Well, looking at, you have three disparate peoples, as far as Palestine, Jordan, and Israel, conflict, been going on for millennia from there. But at the same time, you're saying, let's put that behind. Let's use water as the symbol of life, but also the water, the symbol of collaboration and cooperation among our three peoples, so that we can not only just bring peace among our three peoples, but also the entire Middle East. That is a huge challenge that you have.
Well, water is life, no doubt. With no water, there can be no life. And I think by working together and realizing and thinking about each other, for one moment, imagine you are in the position of your neighbor. Imagine what is he suffering and try to help as a humankind. Then look to the past experience. The unilateral actions did not make anybody better off. In fact, it made the whole Middle East much worse. And it's time to think in a different way, to respect each other more and to join the efforts for building a better future, a better livelihood.
Well, looking at this, Nadar, I know that it's a real challenge when you have governments, you have factions within each of these various, and I'm going to use this term somewhat loosely, but nations, and yet you're willing to openly collaborate and cooperate, through your 501c, they're a nonprofit, with the Israelis and the Jordanians. So what gives you that zeal, that passion, that vision to say is, we can do it?
Yes. Well, the area is a small geographic area, and it is divided by imaginary political borders, and nature does not recognize these borders. And by working with my neighbors, I am not doing a favor for them. In fact, I am serving my self-interest, but that at the same time generates a mutual interest. And from that perspective, and working with the Israelis or the Israelis working with me, each one is not making a favor. No, we are serving our own interests, which brings the mutual benefit to the rest of the region.
Well, we're talking about big, broad, heuristic terms of peace, of freedom, of collaboration. These are wonderful words, but yet you're doing something that's very practical. And it touches people in their spirit, but also in their bodies from the standpoint of being able to have a clean bathroom, being able to grow their own food. So looking at this photograph right here, how do we take these big, broad concepts and boil it down to something as simple as a fresh tomato?
Well, I think because then the area is suffering too much and the people are suffering. Any work with water will create an immediate impact on their daily life. And the people cannot wait and continue to be thirsty until there is a final peace agreement. Definitely would like to see an agreement yesterday, before today or tomorrow. But the people cannot wait until the politicians come to a moment to agree and see the picture in a different way. So the people, by working together, they want to improve their daily life, and they want really to live as a normal citizens as the rest of the world. So they cannot keep waiting. They've been waiting for a long time, and they are the ones who are paying the daily consequences. You cannot watch your kids dying or suffering from poverty or thirsty and looking to the politicians until they shake hands or come to a final peace agreement. These people, they are entitled to live in dignity, in harmony, and in peace. And they decided to lead that initiative and to work for a better future for their own families and communities.
Well, what you're doing is you're bringing, Nadar, faculties, students, local communities together and creating, just as in this photograph here, something that's very simple, it's very practical, but at the same time it's very real, where it allows people, to collaborate on food production, on having clean restrooms, and these other kinds of very basic human needs. And so what was the genius as far as saying, hey, let's start looking at education, let's look at water and food production, so that we can actually go across this area and have these demonstration projects for other countries to emulate?
Well, my background is engineering, water engineering, and that's what I've been doing in 30 years. And I think, we have learned from the past failures of the others. Even, we are trying, to learn from other nations, other parts of the world, how they are facing, what is the new technologies, how we can tackle these problems. Because for every problem, there is a solution if there is a real will. And we try to bring that wealth of knowledge to the region to improve the daily life of our nations.
Well, looking at this looks like something that's very simple, and we're saying, hey, this is in a school, what's the importance? But actually, there's some profound engineering that's going into this. Tell us a little bit about what we're looking like and how that actually this could be replicated in South Africa, it could be in Uganda, it could be in Guatemala and South America. I mean, there's real principles here that could be used anywhere in the planet.
Yeah, and the students in the schools, these are the leaders of the future, and there is so much energy, so much potential, and we just try to use that and to guide them, and they enjoy doing this, instead of throwing or burning these tires in roads or somewhere else or dump it to a water course. With simple techniques, they turn it, to a garden. They learn this, and definitely they enjoy it. And we are very proud, of those generations, when we see them, how they work, how they, tackle the problems, how when they get together from different countries, they forget about the barriers and work as one human being. And they are very creative, but they need the leadership and the people who can guide them to the right way.
Well, with your engineering background, I'm going to pick on you just a little bit because I really like the symbolism of what we're seeing here, because this really, in a sense, in a microcosm, this is the Middle East. There's little water, there's little land, there's many people, and the populations are ever expanding, but yet you can take something with all those challenges and make it something that actually it's flourishing in the desert. So how can you take such small space but yet create something that really can have true benefit not only for the students and the faculty but also for the citizens in the community?
Yani, okay, the Middle East is known for the scarcity of water, but we need to use wisely these resources. And there were other civilizations in the Middle East who flourished even in the desert. The Petra of Jordan totally depended on rain harvesting. So we are not reinventing the wheel. This technology existed. We need just to put the things together and to make the best use of these resources, as I said, to use them wisely and to respect the trust that God gave us on land, and we should really use it for the benefit of the humanity.
Well, looking at the educators that you have and how that they're actually being positive role models and influence, how are you able to teach, to nurture, to train people in Palestine, Israel, and Jordan to collaborate as educators for the future generations of students going through their hands and under their voice to create a better world in the Middle East?
Environmental education has become part of the curricula. It's not something luxurious for the region. The people, because they suffer and they realize that environment is touching their daily life, and that is becoming part of the education systems. And we build on that, and we bring our experience, join it to what exists there, and by hiring the right staff, the people who believe in what they are doing, the ownership is very important. And those people, they pay a price, because not everybody supports what they are doing. Not everybody will be happy seeing Israelis and Palestinians working together, or Jordanians. We pay a high price, but we think this is the only way. And as I said, by doing this, I am not doing a favor to my neighbor. I am serving my nation first.
Well, we've just about run out of time, and I really appreciate you being here all the way from Palestine, Nader. But tell us, what is the symbol of this, and what are we looking at here with these people sitting in a small rubber boat with flags?
Yes. And these people really are sending a message to the whole world that the Jordan River is in danger. The people here, they are in this kayak because the water is polluted, and we are losing the Jordan River. The Jordan River is not only for Palestine, Israel, or Jordan. It is for the whole humanity. We've been calling even the UN organizations, the whole world, to help us rehabilitate and bring back life to the Jordan River, which automatically will have a positive impact on the Dead Sea. And by the way, by fighting the nature, we are not going to win. The nature knows how to defeat the humankind. The Dead Sea, what is happening, the sinkholes that are developing on both sides, it is the revenge of the Dead Sea and the nature. So we need to respect the nature. We need really to respect what God gave us and to be a symbol for other nations.
Well, Nader, thank you for being with us, and thank you for being with us as we look around the globe to help create the Emerald Planet.